3. Any public comment? Any board comment? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, I'll call for the vote.
Yes. I apologize. I'm having a technical difficulty. The password's not working.
Can we get Ms. LeBou some help up here, please, with her computer? Motion carries 8-4, none against, one abstain. Move on to the next item, which is 2.1. It's the National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Resolution 10-20-1991. Ms. Morrison, I need a motion, please.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the board approves Resolution 10-20-1991, National Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
I have a motion. I have a second by Mrs. Santani. Ms. Morrison, before we go to public comment, would you like to read the resolution for us, please?
Sure. National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas October is designated as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and whereas breast cancer touches the lives of many in Lafayette Parish from every background and every community across our parish, and whereas although great strides have been made in combating this devastating illness, more women and men will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year, and hundreds are expected to lose their lives to this disease in our community. And whereas during National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the Lafayette Parish School Board honors those we have lost, offer our strength to those who carry on the fight, and pledge to educate ourselves and our loved ones about this tragic disease. And whereas this month we stand with the women, men, and families who have been affected by breast cancer, and we recognize the ongoing efforts of dedicated advocates, researchers, and healthcare providers who strive each day to defeat this terrible disease. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Lafayette Parish School Board does hereby proclaim October 2020 as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Any public comment? Any board member comment? Before I go to the vote, I will apologize for not having this on the agenda at our meeting 2 weeks ago. We traditionally do. It was an oversight. We apologize. That's why it was added tonight. Madam Secretary, I'll call for the vote.
Eight for, none against.
Motion carries. Next item, 2.2, discussion and or action regarding the basic, supplemental, and AD&D life insurance benefits. Ms. LeBeau?
I'd like to make a motion to defer action on this item until further discussion with the insurance committee.
Thank you. We have a second by Mrs. Santani. The motion by Ms. LeBeau is to defer this item. Any discussion on this item will be to defer. Any public comment? Any board member comment? Go ahead, Dr. Chasson.
Who would be able to answer a few questions for me that I have concerning US Able and Unum, and I'm trying to understand why there's so much uproar concerning the differences between these two companies and how it was brought about.
Hi, we have Shane Pennington from EBI on the line.
Okay, I got you. Let's see. So I'm trying to get an understanding, Mr. Shane, or whoever can answer these questions, as far as what's taking place between US Able and Unum. And we've got an existing contract, and the contract ends on December 31st, 2021. But we went ahead and sought out, I guess, another bidder. So is there any particular reason why we went that route?
So I think I heard most of your question there, and thank you guys for allowing me to participate tonight. So basically, and I hope that you guys understand that my responsibility as your broker for voluntary employee benefits is to bring you options when I think that they could do a couple of things. One, obviously save the school board money. If it can make, if it's a benefit to your employees, if there are administrative issues with a current carrier, those typically are the reasons that I would bring a new proposal. So what I can tell you is, as far as considering this change right now, I know that with Unum, you have until December of 2021, you're in a rate hold. That means that nothing would change with that policy until that time. However, there are some things that you need to consider, and you're determining if you need to make the change right now. And those things would be, first of all, the savings to the school board on the basic life insurance would be 18%. Now that's not a huge amount. We think that that would be roughly $60,000 to $70,000 per year, based on participation. The second reason that you might consider this is that, and I think that this is a big one here, is that you would be able to offer all of your active employees a guaranteed issue life insurance policy. And what would be offered would be up to 5 times their salary, up to $200,000 max life insurance for those employees. It would be guaranteed issue. And what that means is that regardless of their past medical history, all employees would be able to participate or get that coverage with no health questions asked. A third reason that you might consider this is that a new carrier would give you a 3-year rate guarantee. Now, that may not seem like a big deal because I believe we got a 3-year rate guarantee with the current provider. This is why that might be more important. In the last renewal period with your current provider, what they came back with was a substantial increase in your rate. I want to say that it was 33% increase for the active employees and 112% increase for retirees. Now here's the deal. At that point, you got your insurance committee, and I think it was finally voted on by the school board at that time. There had to be a lot of changes made to your plan offering. For example, you had to reduce the retiree life insurance from a $10,000 life insurance to a $5,000 life insurance. You also had to remove a $2,500 dependent life insurance that was there for the active employees. That was removed. So you're making these concessions to the plan to keep the rate down. Lastly, I would say that my concern would be that the risk involved because of the retiree block, I can't guarantee you that I'm going to be able to go out next year and get this type of quote. I can expand on that just a little bit. I went to three national carriers that are all A-rated companies. They are trusted partners of ours. We have them in the majority of our school districts, roughly 140 school districts. 2 of those carriers backed out and decided not to quote on it for one reason, and that was because they didn't feel like they could carry the risk and get involved with the retiree part of the block. To put this a little bit more into context, you guys are currently
ask a question?
paying, and I'm going to round these numbers off, but it'll be close to it. You're paying roughly $65,000 for a $10,000 basic life insurance policy for your active employees. You're paying $275, $280, somewhere in there, $1,000 for a $5,000 policy for retirees. So that just kind of puts a spotlight on the risk level and what we're looking at there as far as potential increases. If I had 2 that did not want to quote, 2 national companies that did not want to quote this year, we're going to be adding more retirees throughout this year and at the end of next year that they're going to have to take into consideration. I can't guarantee you that I would be able to get this 18% savings. I can't guarantee you that the current provider would hold their rates. Those are all possibilities. I just don't know. So my job was to bring this to the insurance department, and obviously they felt like this was enough to consider just based on the risk alone. Obviously, it's a great thing when you can offer your employees, especially in times such as this, a guaranteed life insurance up to $200,000.
Okay.
So I said a lot there. I think I kind of answered why we would look at this at this time.
Okay. Let me process that. I'll relinquish the floor. I saw Ms. Smith Mason had a question.
Ms. Mason, you have the floor.
So this is a vote to defer, correct? All right.
Correct.
So the committee already heard that pitch and all the details and it was discussed back and forth by the committee. And, I mean, for your recommended, I mean, this isn't what they recommended to do. You know, it's a group of 18 people on a committee who are volunteering their time to examine and ask all these questions and had all of those questions.
Right.
So, you know, I feel like we're jumping the process here and not trusting our committee to do their due diligence. I mean, this isn't what they recommended, and I'm not sure why we're discussing like the benefits of the plan right now, because, I mean, the vote is to defer this or not. So my question is, why are we hearing from the insurance company all over again?
Dr. Shasso.
Board President, for Ms. Smith Mason, the answer to that is, I don't want to come across incredibly insensitive, but I actually think I understand this a little bit better than the actual committee. And that's every committee person that's at home, listening to it, grabbing their phone right now, texting to each other. I can't believe what he just said. I'm a little confused as to if we have two plans, two different companies, and we can get the same exact thing for cheaper, $70,000 a year. Who benefits from that? Justin and I were discussing that in the board conference room. Who actually benefits from a savings? We recoup a $70,000 savings. Where does that go? Can anybody answer that before I continue?
The general fund.
The general
But-
fund. I figured that. Okay. So you can get the same product for $70,000 cheaper. Now, any of us would jump on that. This particular company offered us a guaranteed issue. So a guaranteed issue, life insurance wise. I have cancer. January 1, I sign up, and in February, I die. No questions asked, no pre-existing conditions. I get I get $200,000 life insurance for my family. I don't see how we pass that up, or at least ask Unum, can you match it? So that's it.
They
That's it.
didn't
One
ask
second, Ms. Smith
Unum.
Mason, I have the floor. And as well, I would just simply prefer if contrary to popular belief, I don't care who gets it. I don't care if it's US Able, and it's not USA Able. I wish folks would stop saying it. Or Unum, I don't care. Could care less. I just want to know that we're getting the most bang for our buck, and for folks to just pass this up because, well, they brought to us some administrative issues that they had with them in the past. They tried to drop us from $10,000 to $5,000. We lost $2,500 supplemental insurance for active employees. The rate renewal is going to go up 33% versus 112% for retirees. And the overwhelming consensus of this thing was that, well, why didn't we hear about this earlier? What does it matter? You either believe it happened or you don't believe it happened. So if you don't believe it happened and you don't like EBI, then fire them. Tell Shane, thank you for your time, we appreciate it. If you don't like somebody else, fire them. Like, folks, their emotions are wrapped up in this. I care about $70,000 savings. Let's see, guaranteed issue $200,000 max, new 3-year rate guarantee, and I'm perfectly fine. What I'd like them to do, that's why I'm glad Justin offered up the best thing I heard all day. Hey, let's defer it. Great. Because can they just please go to Unum and ask them the same thing? So if they ask them the same thing and they can match it, well then great. Thanks, guys. So folks are upset that they asked one company and didn't ask another. I don't care, it's still better. That's how you get better. Mr. Santani is great at it. I want him to go car shopping for me one day. Like, can you beat it? No, you said 18,000, you walk out. Like, if they can beat it, they can beat it. I want what's best. I don't care what company gets. I don't care. Hannah, I don't care. I could care less. We're gonna defer it. They'll ask Unum. Unum will come back and hopefully say, oh yeah, guys, we got it. But they were talking about administrative issues, dropping life insurance 10,000 to 5,000, and then I heard about an actual drop further than that. It was 5,000, 2,500 that they were fighting with us with. And if we have to fight for these things, and administratively they're giving us problems, kick them to the curb, get somebody else. We found somebody else. They're gonna match the plans, and they have some extra bells and whistles. I'll take that. But I'm not gonna do it because somebody doesn't like one of our employees, because she used to work under another employee they don't like. Like, I don't subscribe to that theory. I just don't. I want what's best for the people, and if we can save money, let's save it. That's what I'm fine with. So with that being said, I typed out a lot of questions. Are there any differences in the UNUM and the US Able plan?
Point of order, Mr. President.
Yes.
I would, perhaps, Dr. Chasson, it would be better if you gave that list of questions to the committee
Okay,
to ask. I'd like you to get answers to your question, but we
Okay.
are talking about the motion to defer here.
right.
Motion is defer or not discussing whether we're gonna pass
Okay.
it or not. So I think the discussion, if anybody has anything to say, or if they prefer to defer or not, we could probably almost go to the vote.
Okay, but, so, I don't mind giving this list of questions, but as far as a point of order, guys, so the recommended action is one thing, and to defer means you can still discuss what we're deferring. So I'm actually not out of order, and I don't mind, I understand. We figured it would be a short meeting, but, okay, guys.
I think we can bring this back to the December 2nd. I think it's December 2nd. We're meeting the first Tuesday. Yeah, so I mean, I think they can have their committee meeting between now and then, and we can get all those questions asked, then put it on the agenda for December 2nd, and definitely yes, no, or won't be no maybe so on December 2nd.
If you don't mind.
Good.
So really quickly, I don't care what company gets it. I don't. I want to say that again. I don't care what company gets it. But we have to stop with because it's a change, and why are we changing now, and this extreme power that we gave to this committee. Like, we need to be able to look at this and compare apples to apples. And if you're saying, well, that's an orange, well, let's go get an apple for that same company, and let's just take a look at them even keel. And it's not about who recommended it and why they're recommending it and why did it come now. Like, can we just look at it for what it is? Can we save the most amount of money? I don't care. Like, there's too many emotions wrapped up in this, and we just need to free ourselves from it. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Ms. LeBou, you had something?
I just want to say, sorry, I had to, obviously quarantine, so I wasn't able to attend the insurance committee meetings in person and ask some of these questions. So my main contention with asking to defer was just to, not to say that they didn't do their homework and they weren't thoroughly vetted, but just so that if we do have some clarification that can be brought back that they may not have ferreted it out, I would like to just have the defer. So just so everybody knows, I do appreciate the work the insurance committee did, but just for edification of everybody involved, making sure we ferreted out every single solution or question to make sure that we are as educated as possible in making the decision moving forward.
Thank you. Mr. Santani?
I agree with Ms. LeBou. I'll say that the reason I think we should defer is that the information provided to the insurance committee when they discussed this was not complete in my mind. We certainly heard about the US Able option, but as Dr. Chasson alluded, no one asked the incumbent provider to match or beat that offer, which is, to your point, how you get a better price in most negotiations. So yes, I agree. To choose one or the other right now would be premature. And I think the committee unanimously voted against it because they felt like they didn't have enough information. That's why I think we should defer.
Thank you. Ms. Morrison?
Yes, Ms. LeBou, you said that you weren't able to attend the last meeting. My question is there any board members attending all of these meetings? Okay, and your questions have been answered at these meetings? And so are you allowed to ask questions to the committee to get answers? But your answers were not.
Usually
the
my
questions.
answers are to the company who does not answer them.
Okay. Okay. So we plan to attend the next meeting, December 2nd, at least a board member, someone?
Oh, that's our
So
regular
that-
board meeting. The insurance committee will meet between now and then.
Okay.
Yeah, but we have, our next meeting is November 11th, but that's not enough time for the insurance committee, so we would bring it back on the December 2nd meeting.
Okay. I just want to make sure the next meeting that there's someone there that's asking all the
Right.
questions, so we don't have to keep doing this over and over again.
Correct, I'm with you on that one. One more time, Mr. Chasson.
Thank you.
So I got a call from Nancy Mounts speaking to me about this maybe 2 weeks ago. I love Miss Nancy. First time I think me and Miss Nancy have actually went in opposite directions on something. I just need some clarification because as I was informed about it and said, hey, can you support it? Well, let me go look at it. I just went back and watched it. And I'm confused as to what questions have been asked that haven't been answered. That just confuses me. Like it's a committee meeting. They're presenting something. I understand if the committee members are upset that they didn't hear about, you're saying there were these 4 problems, but we're just hearing about this now. So I can understand if there's always issue with change. Aliens landed, that's changed. Desegregation, change. Like anytime there's change, folks like, well, wait, hold on a second, but I'm just confused as to if we were worried about, well, they didn't ask Unum the same questions, then just go ask Unum the same questions. Let's see if we can get the same response. Let's see if we can get the same benefits. But if it's one company versus another and there are more benefits, we get everything the same, but we get extra for the committee to just reject it, and as well, like the recommendations, I'll wait on that one because that's a whole nother issue as to why the committee's making recommendations for something that should come from staff anyway, but I'll stop. We can vote.
Ms. LeBeau?
My only question is, do we not get formal packets comparing or some type of formal, I know the insurance committee might be provided those, but before we would make a decision, are we privy to the same information they are, and can we get that information prior to the insurance committee meeting for our review?
Yes, ma'am. You can get any information you want from anybody at any time as a board member.
And President Lechley, I would like to ask Mr. Cox as far as for a timeline, or Ms. LaBeouf, so that you all know if there is a timeline or a deadline as to when a decision would have to be made, or that this is off the table.
I'm here. I didn't hear the question though.
What is the, Shane, this is Brett Lochley. What is the deadline? We're looking to bring this back, allowing the insurance committee to review this and bringing it back at our December 2nd meeting to either pass or fail. We would not
So,
defer, or at least
thank
I
you,
would
Mr.
not vote to defer past December 2nd.
Yeah, so a couple of things there. First of all, to go back to the comment that questions were not answered, questions were answered. I can tell you that the concern when I addressed the committee that this may be rushed, there were really two.
Shane, I hate to interrupt. The question is, what's the deadline?
Okay, if you want this to be effective January 1st, obviously we would need to do a special enrollment before, or we would need to do that, we would need to get started before December for sure. But I also want to point this out, and this is related. The other concern that it was being rushed, and I want you to know that we don't have to rush through this. If we want to change the proposal to show that it's not a 1-1, if we want it to be a 2-1 or a 3-1 effective date, that is a possibility. If I gave off the impression that I was trying to rush to a decision and rush this through to the committee, that is absolutely not the case. If we want to push the effective date back to to a February 1st or even a March 1st and do an open enrollment specifically for this product, we can do that. However, if you want it to be a 1-1, we would need to get started on building out that enrollment process, all of the communication that we would do. We would need to do that immediately.
Thank you. So there is no deadline. So we can do what we need to do on December 2nd. My advice from this chair would be for the insurance committee. I know they're watching, to do your due diligence, make your recommendation, good, bad, or ugly. December 2nd, we'll bring it back on the floor, and the board will be presented with the information. We can attend the committee meeting if we choose. We can probably watch it on TV if we choose, but make a decision one way or another December 2nd. Any other board member comment? Mrs.
I would
Centani?
point out to all the board members who are interested in attending these meetings, you can certainly watch it on YouTube, but they're also available on Zoom due to the at-risk nature of the people on the committee.
Thank you, Mrs. Centani, for that information. I did not know it was available on Zoom. Okay.
I watch on YouTube, but you can't ask questions, so.
Madam
yeah.
Secretary, I'll call for the vote.
Right.
I don't know if I know how to find it on Zoom.
Beat it.
8 for, none against.
Motion carries. The final item is 2.4, discussion and or action regarding a 3% health insurance premium increase for active and retired members. That was pulled. Dr. Aguilar?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the board implement a 3% premium increase to the employees' portion of the health insurance premium on January 1, 2021, as recommended by TPA Hub, International, and LPSS staff.
We have a motion by Dr. Aguilar, seconded by Mrs. Centani. Any public comment? Mr. Guidry?
I believe that increase would have to be both the employee and employer share in order to accomplish the 1.4 million of savings.
You
So-
read the recommended action as it is written.
Read it as it was written.
Yeah.
What needs to be changed?
Increase to employees and employers' portion.
All right. You good with that, Dr. Aguilar? All right. And Mr. Centani, good. We could get that added, please. While we're doing that, do we have any more public comment? Any board member comment? Dr. Shasso?
So recommendations of this nature should not come from a committee. They shouldn't. These recommendations should come from staff. The reason being is that staff is aware of the fund balances, and it's one thing to tell the numbers to someone, but people like Billy Guidry and Matt Dugas and whoever else actually interacts with this on a daily basis, they should be the ones to tell us, as it's always been in the past, in my opinion, all the way back to Burnell Lemoyne, when I got on the board in 2011. These premium increase percentage suggestions should come from staff. They always have, because they're more aware of what's taking place, as opposed to the, well, it's been a tough year. Well, we're dealing with the pandemic. This isn't the right time that we should do it. Like, we have to do what's best and in the best interest of the employees. Now, I get the notion of, I don't want to raise anyone's premiums, but if it's something that needs to be done, like I watched the meeting, and I'm waiting for discussion of the amount that it should be. And at one point, someone suggested, well, there's also the 5%, and it was immediately shut down, like immediately. And it bothers me because in then calling staff to find out, you guys think 3% will be enough? To find out that they think it should be 5%, and then they're pretty positive. And when they say those things, like, I'm pretty positive that we'll just have to come back next year and get that other 2% or another 3%. No one wants to hear about premium increases, but if it's something that needs to be done, we need to do it. Now, I spoke with Kate earlier today. Kate actually told me something that actually really made sense. Listen, whether we do it all now or in pieces, you know, it's better to swallow now in pieces based upon what's going on. I'm more so, let's do it all now because we need to do it now, but whether it's 3 now and 2 later or 5 now, it still ends up being the same thing. But to just take the recommendation because, and listen, I take these recommendations, you know, Miss Nancy will call, Timmy, this is what's going on. Miss Nancy's always right. But to just take the recommendation because it's coming from them and not do your own research on it, whether you chose to do it or not, or you're just taking their word for it, their word has always been absolutely correct, and it's just this time, to me, they're not correct. And it's just like the egg whip situation. Nobody wants to listen to me up until, oh, now they want to listen to me. Nobody wanted to pull that item tonight. Like, let me help everybody out here. I don't have a master's in pharmacy. I got a doctorate in pharmacy. There's a lot of insurance I deal with. And to see this and to see the savings, and it's there, y'all gotta believe me on those things. Like, I'm asking y'all, and it's not one side versus another, because I told Justin Santani, I feel like Darth Vader for some reason, because I'm trying to talk some sense into folks when it comes to these things. So I'll get off my little pulpit now, but these suggestions should come, and they probably need to even, matter of fact, Mr. Lemoyne actually did say it in the meeting. It should come from staff. And we need to rely on those things from like Katie Landry on the committee and Burnell Lemoyne. And he actually stated it. So we're gonna have to see another increase, just as a heads up.
Ms. Mason?
Okay, I'd like to point out that this is the recommendation of our TPA and our LPSS staff. Do you think that this is just from the committee, Timmy? Like, the public content on this for the premium increase is at the recommendation of TPA and the LPSS staff. And Ms. Charles-Claire, do you mind if I ask the point of the committees, what is the purpose of the committees, especially the insurance committee? Do they work in concert with our staff?
We have active employees from staff on that committee, but the committee does make recommendations to the board. That's the purpose of the committee.
But in this case, does it not say TPA and LPSS staff, or is this only from the committee?
Well, Mr. Guidry raised his hand. I think he can answer that.
Yes, my recollection of the motion, the motion was actually made by the committee, that the recommendation was coming from staff. I don't recall any of the staff members making that recommendation, nor the TPA. I believe the TPA presented 3% increase and a 5% increase. And that was at the request of one of the committee members. So although the motion was that staff recommended it, I don't recall staff actually having made that recommendation.
So my next question is, Lynn Fontaine, who analyzes all this for us, does he work for the committee or does he work for the staff?
Well, he was asked, he works for the school board,
Okay.
for the school district. He was asked by the committee to present those two scenarios. So in response to that request, he prepared that information for the committee meeting. But he does work for the school district.
So is he on the line?
Yes, he is.
Okay, thank
Hang
you.
on, let me
This is
unmute
his expertise.
Let me unmute him, hold on. I actually have him and I have Brooks, with Hub also.
Okay,
So I don't know which phone number switched, so let me see which
All right.
one. Mr. Fontaine, can you hear it? He's not here tonight because he lives where the hurricane is hitting.
okay.
Mr.
Wow.
Fontaine? Brooke, Lynn?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can. There we go.
Hi, Mr. Fontaine, it's Hannah
Alrighty,
Mason.
I'm sorry. I had to
Um,
unmute.
Good. I
Any
wanted to,
question?
yes, so I know this has been talked about a lot in the insurance committee, meetings, and my main question is, can you give us a history? When's the last time we had a premium increase in our plan?
2017.
And do you know
July
what,
of 2017.
what percentage that was?
I don't recollect the percentage. I do believe it was 5%.
Okay. So I'm just concerned that Timmy feels that this 3% increase is not what we should do just because the committee of 20 people recommended it, and it didn't come from our staff, even though there's staff on the committee. So I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing here. Lynn, do you have any insight on any of this?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Do you have any insight on, the concern is that the 3% premium increase is not enough and that it should have been 5%, which, Billy, I'm not sure, is the 5% is what y'all recommended?
It was actually a request that both scenarios be presented by Hub International, a request by, I believe, the committee chairperson, so that the committee could view both options.
And they recommended the 3%?
Correct.
Okay. All right, just wanted to be clear. All right, thank you.
Dr. Aguilar?
So, Mr. Guidry, could you kind of give us an update on where we think the plan will be with the 3% rate increase at the end of the fiscal year for that fund?
Well, we're in October, so that basically gives us 4 months of operations in this fiscal year. So if you, in comparing those 4 months to the same 4 months last year, fiscal year ending June 30, 2020, there's about a $50,000 difference. So basically about the same. So the question becomes, do we feel that this is an indication that our year's going to play out, or our expenditures are going to be about the same as they were last year? It's still very early to tell. The challenge that we're up against is, so we wait another 2 months. Let's say we go that route. Another 2 months of operations to see if they're still tracking similar to last year. Is it a reduction? Is it increasing over last year? And when you do that, and we meet in January, well, it takes 2 months to get the information out to the insurance committee, back to the board, and the next thing you know, it's a July 1 effective date with the change. So that it almost puts you in a position of considering making the decision at this point in time and not waiting until December. That's pretty much what we did last year, if you remember. We saw that the claims were considerably higher than the year before. So in January, we met, and we felt that there was a need for us to take a look at it immediately, which we did. And the insurance committee considered it, but the process itself takes some time for it to be vetted properly, for everyone to get comfortable with it. Information to be presented, information to be studied by the committee and by board members, and the next thing you know, you're at July 1. So the point that I'm making is this: If you look at last year, we finished the year with about a $3 million deficit, unaudited. That number could increase because one of the adjustments that our auditors look at are claims that were incurred last year but are paid in the current year. Well, we don't have those numbers until the end of September. So the auditors take a look at it, and at that point in time, they determine if there's a need to increase that accrual, leave it the same, or decrease. So we're waiting on that piece. But the point that I'm making is, if we go with the 3 million, and let's just, for the time being, say, well, we're tracking, we're on a similar path in terms of expenditures through October, and if we implement the egg whip, which we're looking at about a $2.4 million savings annually. I don't know if we can say 6 months is half of that, but in looking at the cash flow that Hub International prepared for us to give us an idea of the discounts and when we get them, that's probably about a $600,000 savings. So you deduct that $600,000 from the 3 million, you're at 2.4. You make a decision to go with the 3%, which brings in about 1.4. That means you're still about $1 million short. If you look at a 5% increase, you're much closer to covering that $1 million. So that's scenario one. Scenario two, somebody may say, well, wait a minute. It's just October. Why all of this gloom and doom? We implemented some plan changes. Let's give them some time to mature or to take root during the year. We feel that the claims are going to decrease slightly. So that's the other side of the coin. And that's more the 3% side of the coin. So from a, just taking a look at it overall, it depends on, to me, our opinion. When I look at it, I'm in October. I know that we can't wait much longer if we're going to address it in the current year. And there is a difference if you do it 3% this year and 2% next year. You lose 6 months of savings. You lose 6 months of premium. So even though the percent is the same, you're losing revenue. You're losing 6 months of revenue. So if we were to go with, if the board were to consider 5% and the claims do go down, the downside is an upside. And what I mean by that is, if the claims go down and we didn't need the full 5%, we have a head start on 2022. And when you look at our fund balance, which is unaudited, down to about 3.6 million on a $52 million a year plan, a head start wouldn't be such a bad thing. So with that, strictly financial, looking at it from a financial standpoint, in my opinion, the 5% would be the route to go. I realize the consideration. There are other factors that need to be considered, and that is, what's the impact to our employees and our retirees? And that's where differences of opinion come in. When I look at it as basically 3 years. If you look at roughly 3 years of no premium increase, and you divide that 5% by 3 years, that's not even 2% a year. When the group health cost industry-wide is going up 7%, 8%, 9%, and we're only looking at a little over 1%, I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good reflection on the management of the plan, not only from the advice that's being given by our consultant, but by the actions taken by the board. So that's my answer in a nutshell.
Thank you, Mr.
A very
Guidry.
large nutshell.
Yes. Ms. Morrison?
Mr. Guidry, you're correct, but it just seems like, like Mr. Sashon, Dr. Sashon said that, at this time, it seems like a lot, 5%. And we do have insurance here with the school board, and I mentioned it to my husband, the increase to 3%, and he was okay with it because we realized that we haven't had an increase in 2017, but considering this time, that everybody's struggling with jobs and different things, that it just seems like a whole lot. But I know we have to do something. But I think it's fair. We haven't had an increase since 2017, but it just seemed like we're getting it all at once. That's why it seems like it's so much. So that's just my take on that.
Mrs. Centani?
Mr. Guidry, you kind of counted down the $3.6 million deficit from last year. That was the number, right? 3.6 from last year?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mhm.
So we're going to save $2.5 million with the egg whip?
Well, the 2.5 is over a calendar year, and so only 6 months of that calendar year is going to occur in this fiscal year.
Oh, okay. That's where I was trying to figure out
Yes.
where you got the extra $1 million for.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
1.2. Okay, so my second comment was, when did this increase first get brought to the insurance committee?
At their most recent meeting.
So I'm just gonna push back on your contention that before you know it, it's July 1st, because it takes time to get stuff like this in front of the board. I believe that meeting was the day before the board's most recent meeting on October 14th, if I'm not mistaken. It is October 28th. So it took 15 days to get a 3% increase in front of the board. And granted, this is a special board meeting, but we were going to meet again in November. I would certainly suggest that it's a little easier to get a premium increase vetted and in front of the board if it's necessary. That's it.
Any other board member comment? Mr. Guidry?
I just wanted to mention, with regards to the insurance committee, what Ms. Mason mentioned about, the purpose of the committee, and if they're going to take that time, that should carry some weight. I have a great deal of respect for that. So, with regards to the insurance committee and their recommendation, I have no problem with them recommending 3%, even though I feel it should be 5%. And working with those numbers. I just wanted to mention that, but, however, if I'm asked for my opinion, I'm going to share it. It may be the same, it may be different, but it's no sign of disrespect for the insurance committee or the amount of time that they put in, or for the recommendation that they make. With regards to the 15 days for the premium increase, this started last January. This discussion started last January. So it's culminating at this point, and it took a special board meeting to get to this point. Not saying that it's not something that can be done quickly, but these discussions have been several months in the works.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Any other board member comment before we go to the vote? Dr. Chasson?
10 seconds. Let me echo Billy's sentiments exactly. The 3 messages that I got from folks who care near and dear about this, who sit very high, it's as if I was doing something, just the audacity. And I'm like, guys, I don't care who gets it. I don't care the amount, but like, I kind of understand it. Yeah, I really do understand it. So I just want to do the right thing. And for them to think that, man, just because he's going with a recommendation other than what we want makes me somehow the enemy, when you clearly know I understand it and you can call me for advice on it, but when it goes against what you want, then I become an enemy. Then you get smart comments like, I understand this better than the actual committee. They spend countless hours on it. I understand the work that's involved, but the work always comes out on an end that I believe is right. And in this time, I think they're wrong. But that shouldn't make me an enemy when I've always been a friend. So you have to speak up at that point. Thank you, sir.
So, Mr. Lodgley, I'd like to withdraw my motion, please.
All righty. Withdrawn motion. The second was Mrs. Santani. Are you okay with that? Okay. Okay. I just want to check. The motion has been withdrawn. What would y'all recommend we do? Let it die?
So I'd like to offer a motion that we implement a 4% premium increase to the affected parties.
Okay, so the motion would read the same,
Yes, sir.
that the board implement a 4% premium increase to the employees and employer portion of the health insurance premium on January 1, 2021, as recommended by our TPA Hub International and LPSS staff. The increase is expected to generate an estimated, the 1.4 million stays the same, Mr. Guidry? Oh, I'm sorry. $1,992,736 in revenue to pay for future claims incurred by members. That would be the new motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion. Do I have a second? %4 instead of 3%. All right, we have a motion by Dr. Aguilar, seconded by Dr. Chasson. Any public comment on this motion? Hearing none, Dr. Chasson?
Really quickly, staff, since it should come from you and you guys understand this really, really well, would you prefer us to defer this so you can come back with your recommendation? Or 3%? I mean, we still need something. 4 is better than 3, 5 is better than 4. I don't want to put this burden on folks, but I know where we're headed because we were at 10-something, 10.3 million, and now we're down to, I forget the number, 3.6.
3.6, no.
Would you prefer to defer to come with some options as to, can we get a breakdown of what 3% and then 4% and 5% looks like?
Well, from a timing standpoint, we wanted to give our employees and retirees an opportunity during open enrollment that if the board did approve an increase, that they had an opportunity to make a change to their coverage. Either, in the case possibly some of our employees opting out, and we've already pushed that back to allow tonight's vote and give them some time, our employees time, to make changes to their coverages if they so chose. If we defer, the increase, if the board were to approve one, would come after open enrollment is closed, and our employees would not have that option to make those changes. So we would need, if the board's considering an increase, tonight would be the timely time to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry.
And if I could add to that, that would also mean if you have already changed your health plan as of now, because open enrollment has been in place, you would still have the opportunity to go to a different plan, even though you've already changed it. And we did extend it for, I believe, 12 days, if this did pass, to give all employees that option.
Thank you. Any other board member comment before we go to the vote? Ms. LeBeau?
Just one question.
Okay.
It's gonna be split evenly between the general fund and the employee portion, right? The 4%?
The 4% is across the board, so what that means is typically, a premium, is funded approximately 2/3 by the board, 1/3 by the employee. So a 3%, the board would fund about $1 million of it. Our employees would fund a little over 400,000. A 4%, the board would fund approximately 1.4 million, and our employees would fund approximately 600,000.
Okay.
So it's in that 1/3, 2/3 ratio for the most part.
Okay, I'm just looking at that rate sheet breakdown. I just wanted to see which columns it affected. Thank you.
Any other board member comment? Madam Secretary, I'll call for the vote.
No, the heading says.
Four for, four against.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve a 3% premium increase for the board and employees and retirees.
We have another motion on the floor, being this one did not pass. It was 4-4, it was a push. We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Morrison seconds. That we revert back to the 3% premium and the 1.4 million in revenue to pay for future claims. Any public comment? I offered you a microphone, Ms. Reed, and you told me you wasn't gonna speak. Now she talks.
Sometimes it feels better to stand up. Julia Reed, Lafayette Parish Association of Educators. I appreciate that the pain is going to have to be felt sometime, whether it's 3% this year, 3% or 5% this year, and nothing next. I would just ask that if you could pass something tonight so that people could have that opportunity to adjust it during open enrollment this year, because I'm sure you all, I don't know if y'all remember, maybe bring it back last summer whenever they had the changes and it didn't go out on time and people were, very upset. And I'm sure you probably got a lot of calls like I did. So if you could if you're going to make an increase, I would implore that you make it tonight. And also just if we could spread the pain a little bit over. We do have a lot of members who have spouses that are suffering from job losses due to COVID and downturns in the oil field. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Any other public comment? Any board member comment? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, I'll call for the vote.
Six.
Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our special board meeting. Our next scheduled regular board meeting should be, if I'm not mistaken, Wednesday, November 11th.